Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to play with the Custom Brush Designer. Oil brush, watercolor, palette knife. Work your way down all the way to this one here. It looks like an oil brush, but it has these nodes on it. That's the custom brush. And if you just start painting with it, it will paint with whatever you have selected. This is one of the test brushes I was creating, and I kind of like how that created some nice chunky mess. And so that's one of the custom brushes that I designed before starting this video, but let me show you how to make one from scratch. I'm going to open up the settings, and remember the settings menu is contextual to whatever tool you have selected. So I'm going to click back on that custom brush tool, and so here's the settings. I'll then click on my brush designer, and then I can go here to my brush head or the brush grain. Selecting from collection is going to give you kind of, hey, here's the stuff that the software kind of has on hand already. And then loading the brush head is going to let you go into your file menu, of which mine is crazy complicated because I'm one of those artists. But if you go to brushes, and I can just search for that, and then I can go here, and then I can go to brush heads. If you have them set to inverted, what you have is a black outline with a white middle. We do not want that. We want the uninverted ones for ArtRage. And that's just going to be like these textures here. So these are some textures that my friend and I worked on. And so let's just say, we'll take this one. And then, oops, see what happened? I got the wrong one. So I got to load again. I need to get the inverted one actually and go here. So I did that backwards, but anyway, I want the black outline and the white there. So we go then to the grain. We're going to load brush grain, and let's see here. I think I want to go to canvas textures this time, and we're just going to grab this canvas texture, and so we've kind of got this as our setup. We can test what that's going to look like, and there it is. Looks pretty good. We can then clear that. We can change the color here. Let's choose something that gives us a little more range. And it looks kind of nice. And you can see that it still has that three-dimensionality of the ArtRage brushes. It looks kind of, has the nice texture. This is cool because it works kind of halfway like a Photoshop brush would, and then halfway like an ArtRage brush would. So let's play with some of these settings. The dab spacing. If you push that out quite a ways, you get to see the individual stamps that get spread out, and they'll build up if you keep kind of stacking them in there. But if you want it to look like a real brush stroke and have a continuity, you need to be down in this range here, somewhere below 10%. But do know that with custom created brushes, you're going to be more taxing on the processor of your computer. So ArtRage isn't designed to take advantage of any graphics card acceleration, so everything's going to be offloaded onto the CPU only. So these are not obviously optimized brushes, and so in order to make them run better, you might want to play firstly with the dab spacing. So spreading that out between 1% and 2%, you've already cut the work the CPU has to do in half, and you go then to 4%, and you've done that again, and then 8%, and so on. You can really make it run faster by just playing with the dab spacing. Jitter is going to kind of accelerate or expand or contract the spacing there. That's what the jitter is going to do. And the opacity means that you're either going to paint 100% opaque or kind of transparent. So I like to stick in this range. Follow stroke means that that the stamp itself, like the shape of it, you can see it's following the kind of angle of approach of the stroke, and that's what this is. And then rotation jitter is that stamp is going to get rotated all around at depending on how much rotation or jitter you have tossed in there. I usually like to leave that to 0. Grain size is the size of this, and I like to leave that kind of in that 50% zone. Scale with head, I say no. Rotate with head, I say yeah, whatever. But yeah, I like to leave that there. Then we have these tools. This is all about kind of the stroke properties. You can set to smoothing, so no smoothing is, hey, that's what my pen did in the stylus. This one is smoothing on, and it's going to kind of like smooth that out, and you'll see that like snap after the fact. I never put that on. I hate that. But you can do it if you want it. Keeps your line work nice if that's what you're focused on. Opacity tapering is what it sounds like. It's going to taper the opacity. Size tapering is what it sounds like. It's going to taper the size. You can do the taper length and so on. And so you can see it's going to kind of shrink the edge based on how long this is and how much this is. So you can see I can create a very different looking stroke here versus here, right? So here the bristles stay wide like a flat brush, and then this. Oops, I gotta get my taper length there. So that's all obvious. Just seeing it in action helps you see how it works. It's a little disorienting when you have a lot of these kind of like post stroke modifications happening, because it's like the smoothing and the taper length and all that stuff. It kind of like messes with your stroke a little bit. So if you're kind of a purist, you're like, hey, I put down the stroke, don't mess with it. You might want to leave some of this stuff off, but if that's not you, that's totally fine. Now I'm going to get out of this army green color for a second and pick something in the blue family, and we should be fine. I just want to kind of see how these mix, and you can see the strokes and the way they're interacting and the layering and the blending, and that's pretty cool. So pressure variance here, you can change the opacity and size, grain, etc. And then we go here. This is interesting. This is kind of why I was playing with this. Color pickup, you can have it set to 9%, or you can have it set to 80-some%, right? And you can see the more that this slides this way, the more interaction you're going to get with the colors that are already on canvas. So that's pretty helpful as well. Color refresh just is how much is going to kind of reset. And then very luminance. This is in a lot like color jitter or a brightness jitter. So the more you change that, you get this sort of tiger striping in your stroke, and you can get color striping in your stroke, or you can get don't play with that. This is for people that trace in ArtRage, and we're not going to go there. We don't need that stuff, right? We're practicing seeing. So that's luminance and color. And then the final thing is, this is kind of crazy. You have like deposit and loading. So let's just see, let's just see what happens. So we can really load the brush up. This is going to add just a chunkiness to it. And then if you take that away, it looks more like a standard brush stroke. With this way up high, it makes a meaty, like weirdly 3D tool. And it's cool, but it's a little bit hard to control. So I usually kind of leave that off. So I'm going to get that. I leave it either off or like at like 1%, just this minimally three-dimensional stroke. And then the deposit, which is just sort of a way of kind of controlling how that works. So my suggestion, something like this. And then as far as movement, scale, zoom, scale maybe at 0 is best. We'll see. Some of these are a little bit of like just experiment and see what happens. Gloss is like how wet the media looks. It's like basically like a shiny versus a dull stroke. And the more 3D you have, so if you go back over here, we got where okay, here to the loading. Sorry, let's bump that up. The more 3D and the more gloss is the more exaggeration. You can see that if I make it really chunky in 3D, and I got the gloss all the way up, it's going to be like shiny chunky, right? So you just kind of got to be careful with that stuff, because it can get out of hand really fast and look pretty cheesy. But that's basically the gist. Got your head shape, grain shape, dab spacing, and this is the rest of it. So hopefully that's a good, helpful start in being able to tinker with the brushes in ArtRage. I mean, I am a tinkerer, but I'm not like a professional tinkerer, if that makes sense. I like this stuff. I like to make my own brushes. I have a custom set of ArtRage brushes, a custom set of Rebel brushes, a custom set of like many sets of custom Photoshop brushes. And I really do prefer to paint with my brushes over almost anything else. And so I am one of those people who's a tinkerer. I like to kind of get in there and find something that works for me. And you need to figure out, if that's you, or if you'd rather be that person that wants to just go download other people's stuff and save yourself the hassle. Both are great. There's no right or wrong there. So I just wanted to show you all this so that you would have that tool set at your fingertips if you need it. So thanks for checking it out. The brushes are awesome in ArtRage, and the brush designer is real fun. So give it a shot. Thanks again, and take care.